Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Mark, for the, as I think, very personal and very inspiring talk. And actually, we saw your car yesterday, and we were wondering about what kind of box is this when we went to dinner. And you told us before you saw us we were at the same restaurant. Unfortunately, we didn't talk, but today we have the pleasure. And I decided just now to give you a little backstory as well on why we stand here, Charlotte and I, and why it's for me a very, very important moment, also business and personal side. And the backstory goes, I founded the Culturizer 4.5 years ago. Crazy years. Founder stories sometimes seem like just nice and you just share the success stories, but there's a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, sweat, tears, and everything behind. But this is what I don't want to talk about. But I want to talk about the purpose, the mission, the idea of founding a company which offers digital solutions to scale the dialogue when it comes, for example, values into the corporation to really bring them to life, every culture aspect. This was the purpose. But my individual purpose has more to do with the personal life. My daughter has, she's 5, she's wonderful, and she has strong brain damage. And this is when I started to think about me as my role, not only as a founder, but also as a father of a disabled, very, very strong disabled person. And I always was wondering about, we need to tackle corporate business in order to have more impact when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is our responsibility, and this is the role I can take, and this is where I need partners for. And the Albright Foundation is one of the strongest partners I could have imagined, because defining a workshop module which is scalable, or more workshop modules, we will talk about this in a second, which are scalable into every company in order to have a real impact, in order to support the organization for deep transformation in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, is a main part of our purpose, besides the regular cultural stuff. And having Albright as a partner is for me, a special thing. And it's the first time that Charlotte and I actually stand on the stage. We tried it in May. COVID hit me, so I wasn't able to show up. And we want to give you some insights about what we are working on and how we try to transform corporate Germany and beyond. Mm-hmm. Right?
Exactly. Do you want to introduce us quickly?
I think about me I talked enough, but you you should introduce yourself. Charlotte.
All right. Well, my name is Charlotte. I'm head of academy at the Albright Foundation. I'm really excited about this corporation because it offers a completely new angle to the work I do, and just the opportunity to impact a lot more people. And I love the focus on culture and the awareness that there needs to be a lot more dialogue about it, and the awareness that it's so hard to actually do that. How do you scale culture topics? And diversity is a core topic of culture. It impacts so many aspects of working life. And so it's a great pleasure that we actually found this new path together. Before we talk about that more, I would like to take you with me on a little journey. And I'm a psychologist, so I get to ask what I'm asking of you now. I would like to invite you to just better? Yes. Yeah. I feel more comfortable too. Okay, cool. Okay, let's get even more comfortable. I would like to invite you to just lean back, take the most comfortable position you can think of. Imagine you're at home, or even at a beach, wherever. Just lean back, close your eyes. you only have one job for the next couple of minutes, and that is to imagine my words in as much detail as you can. And before we dive right in, we're gonna take one deep breath in and out. Thank you. All right. So it's Monday morning, and you wake up and you look at your alarm clock and you almost fall out of your bed. You realize you overslept, and today is the one day where that cannot happen to you. You have to catch your flight. You have to get to the US today because you're speaking at one of the most important tech conferences the next day. So you fall out of your bed, you grab your stuff, you run out of your house, and you're looking for a cab, and there isn't one. So you're rushing to the next corner. Finally, you get a cab. You jump into the cab and you beg the driver to go as fast as he can. So you race into the airport, you get there, you're running through the entrance hall, you're squeezing through security, you're running to the gate, and when you get there, you see nobody. And for a second, you think, okay, that's it, I've missed that flight. And then they let you in at the very last person. You're walking down the gangway, trying to catch your breath. The pilot is standing at the door nodding at you. You're being guided to your seat. You let yourself fall into that seat, and one more deep breath and you made it. The rest of the flight is actually not complicated. Everything goes well. You're being picked up at the airport and taken to the new office. You actually hadn't been to that building, and you're pleasantly surprised, but what you appreciate even more is finally meeting your whole team in person. And you're off to a great start. The conversations are great. You're being productive. The atmosphere is really nice. Somebody brought their kid. You're really content with the day. And at the end of the day, you're being taken out for dinner. And again, it's a new place. You hadn't been to the restaurant, and you really like the place. The food is fantastic. You're enjoying a really good glass of wine. There's a couple at the table next to you. They're celebrating their wedding anniversary, toasting with champagne. You're leaning back into your seat, thinking of this morning, how stressed you were. Everything is gone. You're only looking forward to the conference the next day, and you're just really content. And the next day, the conference is being opened with a bang. The speech by the CEO of the most successful startup of Silicon Valley right now is fire. It's so good that you can't help yourself. You have to get up and clap. And if you're being honest with yourself, standing ovations, that really never happens to you. So with that feeling, I invite you to slowly come back. You can keep your eyes closed if you like to. I have some questions for you. The first question is, was the pilot you saw in the airplane black? Was the person who brought their kid to the office a man? Was the couple in the restaurant you imagined 2 men? And was the CEO on stage a woman? And if your answers were no, then you've answered like most people do. And what happened is that you fell into unconscious thinking patterns. And these thinking patterns are something that we really should understand better, and that we would like you to help understand better. But what is really, really, really important to understand is that these thinking patterns are actually shaped by the reality that we live in. And I would just like to take a glimpse at the reality that we live in Germany. So what you see here is the exact distribution, the exact share of people on the management boards in Germany. So you see a lot of black, right? And now you see a little bit of yellow. You might have to stretch a little bit. But so what you're seeing here is the exact share of men and women on the executive boards in Germany. This is the status quo of September 1st this year, and we're looking at 599 men and 99 women. To be exact, that's 86% men and 14% women. And when looking at that distribution, we wonder, is that really the result when only the best and the most qualified make it to the top? And we say no, it isn't. And so one important part of that, when we look at how people are being promoted and acquired for the companies, are exactly these unconscious patterns. And so we actually found that one of the problems to this phenomenon has a name, and the name is Thomas. Thomas is the most frequent name among the German management boards, among the C-levels. And Thomas apparently likes to hire a Thomas, and then he likes to hire another Thomas who's a younger version of himself, and then he hires another Thomas. So, well, honestly, this is my favorite fun fact. Until very recently, there were more Thomas and Michaels on those management boards than women altogether. This year was the first year that there was a most frequent female name among the boards. The name is Sabine. There are 4 of them. That means that there are still 21 more male names that are more frequent than Sabine. And it's the first year that we actually had a most frequent female name. So Thomas, by the way, the average CEO in Germany, we have 86% male. Thomas is born on average in 68. They are mostly, 66% of them are educated in Western Germany. Out of those, 32% are also educated in abroad, any international country. And then 50% have a background in economy and 26% have a background in engineering. So that means 76% have the same background from what they studied. So that means that we're not only, when it comes to gender, we're not only looking at no diversity there or very little diversity, but also when it comes to the background, there's less than 1% people from Eastern Germany. It's just one happy bubble. And so what the Albright Foundation does is we publish a report every 6 months on that status quo, really explaining what the share of men and women is, what the developments are, and we send those reports to the CEOs in Germany. And we have a system, so if you're doing relatively well, you get a green envelope. If you're doing okay, you get a yellow envelope. If you're not doing so great, it's going to be a red envelope. And then the CEOs with the red envelopes, they showed up and they said, okay, guys, we see we're not doing the best job, but what are we going to do about it? And that's when they decided to found an academy. And I'm the head of academy. I was hired to work with leaders to actually enable them to bring that change to the companies. And one very essential part of that is our cooperation that I'm super happy about. And with that, do you want to continue?
Yeah.
Great.
You. Any Thomas who's offended, feels offended right now? It's okay. It's about privileges, it's about unconscious bias, it's about patterns, it's about individual behavior which is shaped by the environment, right? And that's the same when we talk about corporate culture. And in order to change culture, to actually change culture, you have to be in dialogue. You have to discuss, you have to reflect, you have to go sometimes back into history and think about where does this rule comes from, and is it still helpful for now and for the future? And this is the idea. And before I go further into the dialogue, we're just talking about dialogue. Let's create some dialogue right now, right here. I want you to just 2 minutes discuss with your partner who's next to you, sitting next to you, just crazy, just discuss a little bit and think about one question. In which situation in your working life are you potentially biased? In which situation in working life are you potentially biased? Throw in some ideas, some thoughts. The more tangible the situation is, the better. There's no right or wrong. That's good about this situation right now. And do so. You just have like 60 to 90 seconds, and we need to hear that you're discussing. Just pick some partner. All right. All right. All right. I told you, it's just a quick session to discuss.
Can I
All right.
comment for a second?
Sorry?
Can I comment for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
You have no idea, this is making me so happy because in my workshops, I start, because it's usually an easier start, with asking the participants to talk about stereotypes. Do you have any stereotypes? Silence, always. People do not talk about it. And bias is even harder actually, and it's a vulnerable topic. But to have these conversations is so essential and so important. And when we were thinking about, okay, what to ask, I was like, yeah, the room is going to be silent, we can ask that, but, and you guys just went right in, so I'm very happy right now.
I wasn't surprised, but...
yeah, okay, cool.
And Vivon, when it comes about the dialogue, I don't ask you questions right now in which situation, but there's a main difference, and I was looking into some of your eyes or in your faces when I asked the question in the beginning, and some of you were wondering already, where am I biased? Am I biased? Me? No. Oh, that's tough, that's hard. And this is what we actually do often when we try to implement unconscious bias trainings, self-learning, or in leadership trainings, when we try only to focus on KPIs and DE&I targets, that we don't establish this dialogue because it needs reflection. I have to talk with my team together as a leader and discuss and reflect on what are the situations where we actually biased? It's a journey. It's not just a project. It's not just an action I can take. It's not just a training I undergo and then I change my individual behavior. Being an ally, trying to be an ally into every direction, not only the gender part, but every direction, is an everyday learning journey. And it's not everybody will start and says like, yeah, let's go, I want to be an ally. Some will be skeptical. Some have to be convinced in the beginning, and some have to be aware that we are biased. And when we're talking about privileges, sometimes there will be even resistance, emotions, negative emotions. That's what we experience when we go to Twitter, for example, and just raise some questions around diversity, equity, inclusion. And this is what we don't want to address. We want to create a safe environment where people can feel safe to talk about their issues, to reflect about their issues, and to get started just to understand together as a team what are unconscious bias, where are we biased, and what can we actually do to just go one step in the right direction. And if you start a journey like this with our unconscious bias module, and if you continue in focusing in several directions, then the chances that you have an impact and you don't only implement something like the mission statements on the wall, you know how they're hanging, like with the values and proposals and purposes and everything is written down, but we want to bring them to life. And we need campaigns and information. We need town halls, as you said beforehand. We need strong stories. And they are not sustainable. They create momentum. They create awareness. They create even motivation for the moment. But it's not enough. So we need the KPIs, we need the DE&I targets, as mentioned beforehand. We need even a quota. I don't want to discuss the quota right now, but we need it to further develop. It's effective and necessary, but not sufficient on its own. It's just one part we have to tackle, and binding implementation is often lost in daily working routine. And this is not just about diversity, equity, inclusion topics. How often did you go to a workshop, good facilitated workshop? You will create nice action points at the end, right? That's the easy part. But implementing it on a daily work, changing our collective behavior, being reminded, that's the part. And that's where we come in, just humbly and modestly saying, we are the solution. No, we are not the solution, but we are adding in order we create team journeys through autonomous workshops. Additionally to all the aspects we said, people have to be actually empowered to go through a dialogue, and they are capable if we have the right solutions. And culture hacking, trying to define tangible actions to hack the culture and implementing them and being reminded on a weekly basis and seeing the progress you as a team go through. That's the idea, in order to have retrospectives on a regular basis, and then you can have sustainable impact by intensive dialogue in all teams. And therefore we have at some points to take out the human facilitator. And this is what the Culturizer does, and this is why the cooperation is so interesting and strong, because people are allowed and empowered to go through those team journeys on their own.
Exactly. And one thing that I would also like to point out, it just says like KPIs and culture, we need both. But we truly need both. What we've also discovered on our journey with the academy and also with the foundation is that, yeah, we can have KPIs, we can make the companies more diverse, but if the culture isn't inclusive, we're actually hurting the process. We're hurting the people who are coming into the companies and into those positions, but also the process and the change that we really need. So it's not enough to only work on KPIs or to only work on the culture, because if we have the culture but then we don't have the goals and the KPIs or the OKRs or whatever you work with in your companies, this change will not progress the way we need it to progress.
So, disco style.
Yeah, there's a question. Yeah.
I don't know.
Can I say something? I find this topic about women and men just very old-fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
Either women has the competencies to become a leader, manager, president, or whatever, or does not have. I'm working with a lot of women, and it's like the find of the woman is another woman. Sorry, I don't want to use a word for this, but what stops the woman to grow are her colleagues. As soon as they see women growing, they will really make like this to pull her down. It's not the men. The men are cooperative. Oh, there's three. It's not the men that are pulling down the women. It's women pulling themselves for whatever reason, jealous, or I don't know how to, this syndrome. And I find this really, we should stop talking about this men, woman, blah, blah, blah. Either somebody has the competencies, whatever, it's a man, woman, third, whatever. I mean, we have 16 genders nowadays. Just ignore this topic, and we should really find really good managers. Now, for example, companies are forced to hire a woman because they have a woman quota. It's absolutely nonsense.
So you're raising a couple of really big questions, but I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to say it with all the love, but I strongly disagree with basically most of the points. If it really was about that, if women had the same chances, we would not look at the numbers that we're looking at. We would not.
From the praxis, I tell you, women have absolutely the same chances as men.
No, they do not. I have worked with so many of the big companies, and I do tell you no. So I'm absolutely fine with agreeing to disagree, but I think, yeah.
No, sorry. I just try to interrupt in a very polite way. We have we have a roundtable discussion later on.
We have a
I just wanted to say,
discussion, yes.
Because there were some hands raised already, and it would be very appreciated if we just can continue the last two or three slides.
Yeah.
So, and what you just displayed right now, I don't think we will find a solution, but we can discuss around this topic and any other topics when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion in a constructive and in a very emotional state. And what we want to do, and this is why it's a beautiful example, it's not that easy to facilitate this dialogue, especially when people are concerned. If people with privileges don't accept that others don't have, and the other way around. So what we want to do, and what we actually do, and this is in this context even harder as when it goes around corporate values. There it's easier to discuss, but we create an environment where teams can discuss on their own on eye level, not trying to convince the other party, but trying to, as I said before, and going on a journey together. And I would just like to continue the last few slides, and then we can raise this question and maybe solve it afterwards. And Mark, you did rush through your slides before so fast. So what we do is we select existing modules for the team journeys, workshop modules, and there, for example, unconscious bias is the baseline. We don't go into the gender topic yet. We start with where are we biased and how. Gender equality is a module we created together as well. We also have a module where it's about potentials, based on high intelligent people as a use case, as an example on how we need an environment where neurodiversity can be accepted and potential can be raised. The manager gets, besides all aspects I described beforehand, gets an individual onboarding, and then the team starts their joint team journey. And just quickly, obviously we need some reporting, team admin level, and then we have three aspects. We have the dialogue and autonomous team workshops. We have, as I said before, the implementation and pulse checks on a daily basis or weekly basis, and which hacks, some inspirational hacks from our side, but also the team creates some hacks. And then we have the retro perspectives in the regular check situation. So we see where we stand, and we can make experiences in the daily business, reflect on what we achieved, what not, and then we can continue. And if the team has the chance to go in the same direction together, then we have to the chance to open up the culture, the thinking, and then create a new context together. And I would say we stop here. Thank you for your attention, and I'm super curious about the next session in the roundtable.